If it weren't for a recent podcast that I listened to, Mark of the Maker with Grace Horn on it, I would have called these little scissors. But because I listened to that and I got to take in a ton of info about scissors, I am now calling these snips. On tonight's Thursday Night Grind, episode 43, October 22nd, 2020, I'm going to show you how I'm going to sharpen these snips. But before I do that, I do need to let you know that this video is brought to you by the Guild of Professional Sharpeners, where we are building a community of people who are learning how to sharpen things and then taking that skill set and monetizing it. This week it has been bumping in the guild it's actually, I know I say that because I'm selling it, right? But it's actually kind of bumping. There's a lot going on. We're talking a lot about the Tormek. I actually got off the phone with Vance today. I love what Vance is doing. And he's got a new setup going on his 1x30 that I'm excited to share with the group. And there's tons more. Too much for me to go into here, but if this whole idea of like community and sharpening and monetizing is interesting to you, make sure you check out the Guild of Professional Sharpeners at guildofsharpeners.org. So here's a pretty standard spread of things that come across the bench at the American Edge. You got the favorite kitchen knife, got a whole spread of sewing, and kitchen scissors, sewing, kitchen, and then thread scissors. Now I'm calling snips. Thank you to Grace. And the thing about these is that they are really easy to overheat. So I'm going to show you what I do to try to not overheat these on the twice as sharp. And some other things to look at, like one, this has a really teeny thread here. Screw. I'm going to try to see if I can move that at all, but I bet that it is peened over here and that it is not going to move. So the tension on these is probably not going to be particularly good. The other thing I like to do before I start is just to get a baseline. So I got some fabric here. This is just t-shirt fabric, and it is not cutting the t-shirt fabric, so there is certainly room for improvement. We'll do a cut test when we're done, and I'm hoping that that is buttery. Another thing to check for here, and it's hard for me to show you in this light, but if I hold it like this and look right here and close it, you should see a shadow line move between the blades. Here's what we'll do. So I'm looking at them in the light right now, and I'm closing them, and I'm watching that either blade contacts one contacts the other, and the contact point moves from the end down to the tip. This actually seems like it could use a little more tension. If that line isn't where it's supposed to be, I just wanted to show this. And in my call with Vance today, he was asking about what I do about bent blades. And I will confess that I might put a blade in here, in this case a scissor. It looks like this is going to be hard if they're not taken apart, but I might put a scissor in here to and then you can apply, position it to where the bend needs to be worked, and then work it a little bit to try to get the bend, in this case called set, to be appropriate. I will tell you that I don't feel real confident doing that with scissors and knives, and I might, if I get a bent knife, I might try to take a little bit of bend out of it. But my concern is that by trying to bend it back, you make it worse or you destroy it by snapping it. So especially at the tips of knives in this case. But anyway, same with scissors and stuff like that. If they are so bad that they need to be bent, I'm probably going to reach out to the owner and be honest. Like, I can try to bend them back, or like, you're right, or the way they're working isn't real good. I can try to bend them back, or I can sharpen them and see how you like them, because I don't have that confidence in that yet. And I don't know, if you do, if you're all into bending stuff back, let me know. But that, I just wanted to show, particularly Vance, that this is the block I was referring to on our. Before we get to sharpening, I did want to just share some other stuff that I have. A lot of this stuff came up in conversation in the guild this week, so I want to go through it. First off, let's just talk about this kit. This is the Scissor Screw Pliers kit from Wolf Industries. It came with the Taz, the twice as sharp system I bought. The way this thing is set up, like, this is, you put a bit in here, a little magnet. Any hex bit you can come up with will go in there, and it does have assorted bits here. And then you would put your Scissors here, you squeeze the handle to apply pressure, and then there's a ratcheting function here, so you could turn it to adjust that screw. The bit there doesn't, this system's all plastic, right? So I did have one comment, like maybe there's an opportunity to make this out of more rugged materials. Doug made a good comment that if this, if this isn't turning that screw, then it's better to break this piece than the scissor that you're working on, because a lot of these are riveted, not ones I'm looking at here, but and they are not designed to come out. The other thing is that this is sold with the red Loctite, and like that's another one. If you need to if you know it's Loctite and you need to get it out, you can put a heat gun on it, and that'll relax the Loctite. I've never put Loctite on scissors, and I expect that I never will, because I think taking them apart is part of the maintenance process. If I were to use Loctite, I would not use red, I would use the blue, which is the, not as strong. But I also just got this product. I haven't used this yet, but found it through Bonica Shears and their website. This is VC3 Thread Mate, and the idea is, I think of it as like a gooey goop, and it gets on the threads, and it prevents the threads from vibrating and bouncing out, but you can still unscrew it with that on there. And they say like you can undo it and do it back in like 10 times or something, and it still has the same holding power. I haven't used that yet, so I'm not telling you to get some, but that's something that I have now to try when I need to get scissor screws to stop moving around. I found this tool, and so I search Craigslist all the time, and if I ever see some sharpening stuff up, then I have a tendency to scope it out. This came in a bundle of stuff that I bought, and I think this tool, it's like a little screwdriver here. I believe this tool is for applying pressure on the screws of pins. Like so, right? Like on the bench, and then you can lean on here to unscrew that. I think that's what that's for. Haven't used it, but I think I figured that out. I also wanted to show you, I bought this. This is a little kit from Craftsman. It's the second little kit that I've been through. It's hard to find a little kit that is any good, in my opinion. This one seems to be of the better ones that I have found. I think I got it at Lowe's, but anyways, whatever, little bits slide in here, little button lock. This end moves so you can lean into it, right? Like spin it like that. So I just want to see whether or not I get any action here. It does spin a little. Even that bit is a little big. Okay, so no, this is a weird shot, right? But I'm trying to show you, like I set the tool on the bench, I get it figured in, and then I use my body weight to move it. These are a little small for this, and then doing it like this real carefully, you get real nice feedback from the tool to see whether or not you're trying too hard or not. So I'm gonna work this a little bit. I'll be back with you. All right, I monkeyed around with it for a little bit, and the bottom line is that it is not coming out, and even when you unscrew it, it doesn't pins come out. So it seems that whatever mechanism they chose, it is not one that is designed to be taken apart, and that's okay. Sometimes that is what you get. So let us finally move on to the sharpening part. And back by popular demand is the voiceover. So first thing I want to point out here is that clamp that I'm using. You get a bunch of different clamps for these twice as sharps. That one has that really small jaw, and that is handy for this tool. What I just did was mark the bevel with the Sharpie, and then I'm going to spin the wheel by hand to see where the mark is, where that grinding wheel is interacting with the bevel, and then here I'm giving you that little shot. I actually kind of got it. As you do a bunch of these, you kind of figure out that most are somewhere around 30 degrees, and then, but the point to highlight here is that with these little snips, I'm not actually going to be cutting them on the main cutting wheel. I'm going to be doing the work on the honing wheel, but I like setting the angle on the other wheel. And I flip them over and bring them over here. What I just did, I hope you saw that, actually. You'll see it again. What I did is I squirt it with water before grinding. So I want to get ahead of the heat buildup.
And then what I want to show you here is where I'm holding, not just depending on the jaw, but using my hand to hold the scissor there too. And then these are real light strokes, checking for temperature. Let's keep that tip nice and wet. Nice easy strokes out. What I have found as well, and then this gets kind of repetitive, right? Because I'm doing really light strokes on the honing wheel. It's not pulling a lot of material off, but it is pulling material off. And here I am checking for a burr. You can actually see that nice bevel that the tool put on it in the bottom of that image there. Pretty good burr, but as I was looking at it, there's some spots on the tip that, oh, maybe there's the other side. Okay, so we're calling that side good. Move it over. Notice too where I'm locking. I'm not locking it on the blade, like downstream of the pin, but actually on the other side of the pin. I wanted to call attention to that. That's where these little, you can still get by with the corner on the big jaws, but on these little jaws, it's kind of nice. Now we're set up with a little closer shot. Here I am wetting it with water, a little spray bottle before we get started. Holding it, setting my plunge point, and then real light passes, checking for temperature. Nice and easy, real light. It's so easy to overheat these. Okay, checking for a burr again on this side. We are not there yet, so we're going to come back in, work this a little bit more, and then what I hope to show you soon is a nice little way to work the tip when you need to do a little extra work at the tip, but you also need to be real careful not to heat it up. Keep checking for a burr. As soon as we have a burr, we're good. Nice looking bevel. This blade needed a little extra love, but I wanted to skip ahead to this part. And I picked this up from the, see, I'm just bumping the tip in. I'm coming, not starting at the pin, but just bumping in near the tip. Taking that from the chainsaw sharpening procedure where you kind of bump the cutter so you don't put a lot of heat in. And that was enough to put a burr up there. So now I'm going to cut the, since I'm just using the honing wheel, I'm going to cut that burr off. Kind of checking out how they feel here. And then what often happens is when I cut the burr off, it does end up putting a little burr back into the inside edge. So another light pass on the inside is something I have a tendency to do. Like in that water trick, just bumping that tip. Boop, boop, boop. Spending a lot of time inspecting it, looking at it. And then cut that burr off again. Same thing on the other side. Kind of wish I had a close-up for you there, but nice little bump and rock in. Cut that burr off. And set us up for a cut test. Bring that cloth back into the scene. Here we go. Those actually needed quite a bit of work. I didn't realize at the beginning how dull, particularly one of them was. One thing that came up in that Grace Horn interview is her comment that scissors are less like knives and more like springs. I just thought that was a fascinating way to think of them, and I wanted to share that with you.
Before you go, I hope that journey into snips was enjoyable. It was for me. And I hope you learned something just looking through all the different stuff that I've acquired over doing this for a little bit. And some is better than others. Before you go, make sure you check out Grace Horn and even listen to the 2-hour podcast talking about her story and scissors. I thought it was really cool. It's just really fun to listen to somebody PhD level, totally like built a life around scissors, like a passion there. Makes them out of Damascus. Check out the Twisted Seamstress scissors. If you go onto Google and type in her name and Twisted Seamstress, you'll see some scissors that will blow your mind. So there's that. And then if you could just help me out with all the things that I'm trying to build here with, you know, on YouTube, on the YouTube platform, that would be things like hitting thumbs up, subscribing, leaving a comment. And if you could, my t-shirts are moving pretty good. Not a lot from the YouTubers. I'd love it if you guys chipped into some of that. But I'm sitting on a bunch of hoodies now too. In the pre-orders, everybody was amped about hoodies, and now nobody wants a hoodie. So I would love to pass you some American Edge swagdified hoodies. I don't have those up in my commerce store, so you're gonna have to go old school with the email. You could pay with crypto. How about that? That'd be fun, right? Like, let's do some crypto exchanges. Reach out to me. I'll send you an address, and then you send some crypto, and I'll send you a hoodie. All right, I'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.